on the way.
BoogeyMan band coming round the bend. Is BoogeyMan band? Is BoogeyMan band?
Greetings, my fellow fried beans, and thanks so much for dropping by the Horror Zone channel. I hope everyone's doing well. Today's video is a spooky screenings talking about the 10th installment in the Saw franchise, that being Saw X. A sick and desperate John travels to Mexico for a risky and experimental medical procedure in hopes of a miracle cure for his cancer, only to discover the entire operation is a scam to defraud the most vulnerable. Movie stars Tobin Bell as John Kramer, Shawnee Smith as Amanda Young, Sonova Makodi Lund as Cecilia Peterson, Stephen Brand as Parker Sears, and Michael Beach as Henry Kessler. The movie was written by Pete Goldfinger and Josh Stolberg and was directed by Kevin Grutert. So I went and saw the film today. Saw it solo. My wife really isn't into these films, so had the day off and just went inside. It was great. There wasn't a lot of people in the theater, which I love. I'm getting to be that old guy that just likes to go when there's not a lot of people there because I can enjoy the film and don't have to listen to everybody's bullshit and people on their phones and talking over the film. It was great. This franchise means a lot to me, as everybody saw a recent video that I did where I talked about the importance of the franchise and why I love it so much. And critics have notoriously hated the Saw films, even with the original, which is pretty highly regarded among horror fans. Saw X is currently sitting at an 82%, which is insane. The last film to have that high of a rating in the franchise was the original, going back 19 years with 50%. So still not even hitting the peaks of this new film. And what I try to always do is go in with just an open mind. You know, The Expendables 4 was cut down by pretty much everybody, but I loved it and I had fun with it, and I don't get the hate for it. So when everybody was praising this one, I get a little hesitant when everybody's either one or the other. I don't like when everybody praises everything because I feel like it's almost like a pack. It's like a pack of people that are just like, are like a mob, where it's like this mob mentality of, oh, everything's great or everything sucks. And I don't always see things that way. So went into this just knowing that I'm a fan of all these films, even the ones that critics hated, and even, you know, fans of the early installments in the franchise hated, and I just wanted to go in and see what the filmmakers were going to do. I was already a huge fan of Kevin Grutert, who has been involved with the franchise since the beginning, from editor to producer. He directed some of my favorite installments, one of them being Saw 6. So I really felt like the film was in good hands, and the fact that Tobin Bell and Shawnee Smith were both going to be back in this, and that it was sandwiched in between Saw and Saw 2, I thought that was really an interesting way to do it, because I was always angry at Saw 3 for killing off Jigsaw, and I don't know why Lee Winnell and James Wan decided to do it that way. I think they thought that they could move on from the franchise. They wanted to do something else at that point, and even though James Wan only directed the original, they were still producers, and Lee Winnell was a writer on the first 3 films. So I think they were just trying to find a way to sort of sever themselves from the franchise, but of course Saw 3 was huge, and it continued after that with Marcus Dunstan and Patrick Melton writing the franchise. But then they were always kind of written into a corner because your main antagonist is gone. So how do you continue a franchise? So Tobin Bell was always kind of peppered into these other films, some to a greater extent like Jigsaw. You know, with Spiral coming out 2 years ago and not having the John Kramer character, it was just, there was something lacking with that film. As much as I enjoyed Spiral, that presence was gone, and the presence that replaced it was not nearly as menacing, and I felt like that film was very predictable. So my thoughts on Saw X. I loved it. Now, would I say it's the best one in the franchise? I can't make that decision yet. I just saw it, and I've had this franchise in my life for 19 years. And right now, 2 is still my favorite. I still love 2. I don't know what it is about that film, but that is the film that really catapulted me into a Saw fanatic. But this film was great, and I think what it came down to was the human moments in this film were more spaced out than we've seen in the other ones, where your main protagonist is kind of put through these tests. And for 9 films, it wasn't John Kramer. This is the first time it is John Kramer. You're seeing him from a very vulnerable place where he knows that he's going to die. At the very beginning, you know, he's hoping for this cure. He travels to Mexico for this risky and experimental procedure. And what ends up happening is, through that process, he ends up discovering that the entire operation is a scam to defund vulnerable people that are looking for help when they're diagnosed as terminal. with cancer. So right away, much like Saw 6, which is another one of my top favorites in this franchise, is that it's these truly despicable people. And yes, in some of the other Saw films, you could sort of go, well, are these people really deserving of what they're being put through? But with Saw 6, which dealt with, insurance companies and how that are, just completely scum of the earth, and, people that are denying people's claims and things like that, are trying to find ways to do it. You despised everybody that was put through the test pretty much in that film. And I felt the same way towards the people in this film that are, sort of manipulating people that are, desperate for a cure for cancer, whatever they have that's ailing them. And they're promising them that they can cure them, and they're taking their money and not doing anything for them. So, these people that John is putting through these tests, they are despicable people and deserve what they're going through, in my opinion. But yeah, I loved Saw X, one of my favorite films of the year, absolutely. The only thing that pissed me off when I was watching is the theater system. The sound system was horrible, and I got to a point where I didn't want to get up and miss anything. But one of their speakers was out, so like the soundtrack was really loud in spots, and sometimes I couldn't hear the dialogue, but that wasn't the fault of the film. It was just the theater I was in. And but I do want to watch the film again before I do a ranking. I do recommend people going out and seeing it and judging for yourselves. Again, I'm just someone that doesn't like when people are either all in or all out. I always like to give, I don't let that sway me in one way or another. I'm going to go see something. If Saw had gotten a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes, I would have still gone and seen it because I love the franchise. And I think Tobin Bell and Shawnee Smith are so good in the film. You really get to know more about the John Kramer character, and you see him differently than you've seen him in the other films. And the performance that Tobin gives is just absolutely fantastic. It really adds a lot of depth to the character. But I've always loved and understood where Jigsaw was coming from, whereas opposed to Hoffman. Hoffman was doing it for revenge, whereas Jigsaw was really trying to teach people the value of life. And I think that got lost in the sequels when they took John Kramer out of it, and you had different apprentices like Hoffman taking over. But again, I love the film. I definitely recommend people going to see it that are fans of the franchise. Stay through the credits. There is a mid-credit scene that absolutely, I think, ends it on a bang. I was a little bit confused how it originally had ended. It was a little soft, in my opinion, but then you have this mid-credit thing that happens, and I was like, yes, that was perfect. These movies always have to end on kind of that final little wink at the audience, and I just thought it was perfect. So yes, go and see Saw X. I loved it. I hope everyone enjoyed this spooky screenings talking about Saw X. Let me know if you guys have seen Saw X. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Would love to hear from everyone. And as always, thanks so much for stopping by the Horror Zone channel. I hope everyone's doing well. I'll talk to you again real soon. Take it easy. Stay scared as always. Peace. Hey fellow Fright Fiends, just want to say thank you again for supporting BoogeyMan Ben's Horror Zone. If you're brand new to the channel and you haven't yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button down below, hit the bell notification so you're updated every time I drop a new video. I typically do this once or twice a week with new content. I've been doing this for over 11 years, and the horror genre is a passion of mine, and it really means a lot to me that I can share that passion with all of you guys. Thanks so much again for the support, and I'll talk to you again later. Take it easy, stay scared as always.